Hey everyone, good to see people. There's people from not here as well as here, which is really cool. Yeah, I'm Yuuki and
I'm Younng Joo.
And we were asked to share our experience with the third blessing. That's still the case, right? Okay, great. Otherwise, I gotta think of a new testimony. But yeah, so what Younng Joo and I will share about is individually how we have both interpreted and understood the third blessing ourselves, and then also how we as a couple have tried to understand and practice it. So I'll Yeah, so first is like, what is the third blessing to me? That was the question in preparing for this testimony I was thinking about. And then I realized I forgot what the third blessing actually was, like the actual word. So let me go back into the word. And it was pretty, there's not, well first of all in the divine principle, it's pretty short in that chapter. But I figured it's good to read it. It's just one sentence really. It says, the meaning of God's third blessing is the perfection of a human being's dominion over the natural world. And then it moves on to talk about other stuff. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, that's the message. I was dominion over the natural world, but it wasn't like enough. So we went to the Chunseungyeon and read speeches from Father on this. And this is the quote that I think really stuck out to me. The third blessing is to create the environment of the kingdom of heaven on earth, where they would not experience any inconvenience or lack in the environment God bestowed upon them. So that one, when I read that, is what's my role in this world to help create the environment where the kingdom of heaven on earth can be created. And when I was thinking about that, for my life, there is no other field where I have tried to do that more than in my own career. That's been my way of really practicing the third blessing. And for me, it started in high school. When I was in high school, I was just really into studying and doing school. I was really into that. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So at the time it came to actually deciding what to do for college, I was like, okay, engineering sounds cool because I use math and science. I kind of like that, but I didn't know how to apply that. And I talked to a friend who's actually a second gen as well. His name's Kevin Huang. And he was a year older than me. And I told him, I want to do engineering, but I don't know what type I want to do. And he said, same here, I don't know what I want to do, but environmental engineering sounds really cool, because think about it, you're engineering for the environment. Doesn't that sound nice? And I was like, done, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And that was all it took for me to decide to go to there. And that first conversation is kind of a highlight of a pattern of my journey in pursuing the third blessing really comes down to relationships. Throughout, when I was thinking about my experience to where I am now, I don't think I made progress reflecting on my own. All the progress I've made to find my unique contribution to the world has been through people talking to someone and then realizing something. So that was the first thing. I go into school, I'm doing college, I'm studying civil engineering, that's what I decided to do. And environmental is my focus. I thought, water, that doing something to help water, air, that sounds cool. I hated chemistry. Chemistry was horrible, did not like that. And then I felt like I was back to square one. I was like, what do I want to do now? And then this is my third year of college. But I like construction. I took a little bit of that, and construction was really interesting. I ended up working for a water utility company in the Bay Area right after graduating. And it was great. I was helping with replacing water pipelines in our community. And I really liked that, but still I felt there was something missing. And partly it was because my actual job was more like, I mean, it was project management, it was like emailing people and stuff. But I remember that feeling when I was in high school of, oh, the idea that I'm doing something that directly helps the environment. I could see the connection to the third blessing really clearly. And I don't think I really felt that coming out of college. So I end up deciding the solution is to do more school. So I'm going to go back to school. I applied to grad school. And when deciding to go back to school, I talked to a friend, I actually talked to a coworker who, I was deciding like, what should I do? I had two options. It was either Berkeley or Stanford. And she was in the same boat too when she was applying to grad school, where she had two choices. And for her, she said, I just wanted to do something new. And I did the same thing. I was like, that, done. I'm not going to research anymore. Like, Stanford's a new university. I did Berkeley. I'm going to somewhere new. And that was a great decision. I had a fantastic time. And I went to Stanford because I wanted to do something more in construction. I wanted to do innovation in construction. I go through my first year. I do an internship. I work for a construction company. And it was great. I learned a lot. But it made me realize, like, this is not the work I want to do. Because, I mean, construction's great, you're building stuff, but the environment, you meet some people who are culturally, well, let me give you an example. I was in the trailer, you're in a trailer, you're working with other people, right? Like, majority of the people are great, but I had one coworker who was, like, aggressive and really, he talked one time, he was on the phone, he was talking to someone, and they're talking about their kids, and then he was talking about like, oh yeah, man, like I'm so glad I like hit my kids when I was like, raising them, and he was just like talking about that out loud. So I was like, that's not the kind of environment I want to work in. That's kind of weird. And no one was saying anything. I was like, this is so weird. Why is no one saying anything? So I realized that's not necessarily the environment I want to be. Not to say that that's everyone in construction, but that was my experience, and I want to move on. But again, I felt like I was back to square zero. And in the fall, that was 2023. I was in my last year of graduate school. I'm spending $20,000 every 3 months, and now I'm at a point where I feel like I'm lost again. I thought I knew where I was going to go, and now I don't know where I want to go. So fall of 2023, in October, Mother comes to Vegas to give like a speech to second gen. Does anyone go there? Okay. That speech, I remember it was tons of people. I don't think we had chairs. I think people just sat on the floor. So we're all sitting on the floor, and Mother's speaking, right? So we're all wearing like suits, and we're all looking nice. It's hot in there. I'm wearing a suit, I'm sitting down, I'm half an inch away from all the people around me. And she's speaking Korean. I'm wearing the radio, and it's broken. Like, can't hear anything. And I don't understand Korean. But luckily, I think it was Millie, I borrowed her radio maybe, but I borrowed half, so I could half hear. And I mean, the whole speech was good, but I couldn't like really, it was hard listening, it was difficult, getting the right words, but one part of Mother's speech really stuck out to me. And she's talking about Israel, and she's talking about pure water and God's providence. And at one point, she like completely diverges, at least in my view. And she says, yeah, I really hope as, true mother, we can do well, pure water. And she says, however, due to 6,000 years of human ignorance, the things of creation has suffered damage at our hands. Today, severe climate change spawns heavy rainfall, forest fires, tornadoes, and many other indescribable problems. as you must be aware, these lead to the deaths of many people who should be living together in heaven on earth. In considering how to restore the earth to its original state in attendance of the Heavenly Parent, I pray that all of you, through your sincere devotions, effort, and wisdom, can meet these challenges, that you can gain expertise in your various fields and restore this earth to its beautiful original state. And she goes on again, and then she eventually comes back to this pure water thing. But that was like really intense. She's like, this world is being really affected by climate change, and talks about these events that are happening. For me, when I was hearing that, up until this point, I was trying to find a way of what is my calling, what's my unique contribution to this world, and I, pursue different roles. But for me, when I heard that, that was a message to lean into this issue that I've always kind of dabbled with, that I thought, this is interesting, but never really went full in, and that was climate change. Like, I really wanted to do something that directly addressed how can we restore our world, preserve our world, so that future generations can enjoy that. And that was also a moment where I learned that this is a way, this particular field, what Mother just said to me was already on my mind. By doing this, I know I'm contributing to Providence, but I'm also doing something that I find interesting too. And that felt amazing. So after that speech, I go back to school, I start perusing around, and I end up really leaning into renewable energy. And that's where I'm working at now. I'm working for a solar developer. I'm not doing engineering anymore. I'm actually doing finance, but at least it's for the sake of building renewable energy projects. And I really like it. I like it because I feel like I actually enjoy the work. It's interesting. I like Excel. It's fun to work in Excel. But also, everything is in pursuit of every electron that goes onto the grid that's produced by renewable energy is an electron that's not produced by fossil fuels. And that feels good to me. But all of it kind of ties back to this speech from Mother reminded me that there is a way that I can contribute to God's providence in a way that also makes me feel really fulfilled. And to me, that's what the third blessing is Father said in that quote from the Yuuki and Younng, create the environment for the kingdom of heaven on earth. It's a big statement. How are you going to do that, right? And it looks different for each person. I really believe that. And I think one of the things that I really believe is you're here for a glimpse of the blessed life, talk about the blessing. That's an amazing experience you're going to have in life, getting blessed, right? The other experience, I think that is so worth spending just as much time and effort as you guys all are here for your relationship, is your calling. That thing that you feel like, I actually enjoy doing this, and I can see how it connects to God's providence. For me, it was that one part in Mother's speech where she gets super dark, like the world is like doing this, climate change. And then everything else was like back to pure water. But that one part to me was permission. I felt God was speaking through Mother at that time, telling me, here is a role, here is your field, Yuuki, where you are needed to create heaven on earth in this niche. And it just so happens that you'll actually enjoy doing it. So I'm really happy with where I'm at now, and it's only because, one, people, everything I talked about, all those realizations was through either hearing someone or talking to someone. And then two, my experience is, it is so worth every hour, every second, to find something that connects to God's providence and makes you personally happy. I would 100% put a few, and I'm sure everyone here is still finding it. It's worth it. It's worth putting hours and hours to try to find it. And don't do it alone. That's been my thing for me. Okay. And then there was a Blue Dragon tour. There was a tour, people went to Korea, and that was 2 years ago? Summer. And that experience, coming back from that, I think Mother was also really focused on the youth there. But I came away feeling, coming back to Younng Joo, I told Younng Joo that after that workshop, I really felt that when we die, the universe will have lost, or, I was like, I know that when we die, it'll feel like the world lost something, right? I want to feel that way. Sorry, the wording is hard, but basically, like right now, if we died, right, it'd be a loss for like maybe our community, but not our city. Like the city wouldn't experience loss, other than like tax revenue. But there are certain people in the world where if they died, the universe like would feel a loss, right? Like the Dalai Lama, or there's other people, yeah. So I really felt strongly that when we die, I want to be a couple that like had made such a large impact. You could argue that it was a loss to the world, and that's, and everyone else can feel that way too. All right, stop talking.
I'm really inspired by Yuki's drive and focus, and finding a lot of fulfillment through the third blessing, through pursuing his career. For me, I think the third blessing, I didn't really connect it to career for a long time. Like, to be honest, like I feel like I didn't even think about work or career, because I did, after graduate high school, I went to GPA, did GPA for like 3.5 years, did CARP. CARP was like doing school. Didn't really, maybe I should have been thinking about my career, but not really. I was focused on passing my classes and then witnessing. So it wasn't basically until like this past year or so that I started thinking more about like, what do I want to do? What is my calling? Yeah, and a couple things along this journey that has been really helpful for me is so my degree was in English, so I love books. One book that's been kind of helpful for me is this, The Artist's Way, and it speaks a lot about creativity as a way of serving God and finding inspiration. So I wanted to read a passage from here that spoke to me. Lost my bookmark. But the essence of the passage was about how it's God gave us, there, thank you. Okay. When we open ourselves to our creativity, we open ourselves to the Creator's creativity within us and our lives. When we open ourselves to our creativity, we open ourselves to the Creator's creativity within us and our lives. And I think, like, for me, I see myself as a person less like Yuki, where you just focus on one thing and just go for it. I like my side quests. I go here and I try this thing, and then I get led to something else, and then I go here, and then that leads me to somewhere else, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I think I found my way. And that's kind of been my route through life, is like I get inspired by something, and a lot of that has to do with being in touch with what sparks joy for me and making time to be creative. And for me, that's been writing. I think every person has a different maybe practice of feeling connected to themselves, but when I take time to write, it makes me slow down and be present and in the moment and really be curious about what's happening in my life and why it's happening, what I'm interested in, and where I'm going. And it requires paying attention. So I think that connects to the third blessing because it does take a lot of self-awareness to pursue what you're passionate about, because you have to first find what you like doing, and then what about it inspires you, and notice moments where that happens, because you can just go through your life and you're just going about doing the things that you do, and then you might pass by moments where that could be a way for you to experience God's fulfillment or your nature or your skills. Basically, God, I think, provides many opportunities for us to find our calling, our creativity, but when we're not open to it or not paying attention, we might miss some of those opportunities. So I think taking time to be creative or creative practices have helped me to do that. Another book that I really like that I think connects to the third blessing is this book called The Serviceberry. It's by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and it's really beautiful. Mars got me this book, actually. It's about a relationship with the natural world, and it focuses a lot about how we, the ideal relationship with our environment should start with gratitude. And I'm going to read a passage from this one that I think captures the kind of relationship with the environment that I strive for. So the author, she's picking berries, and this is her talking about realizing all the gifts and people involved in even just enjoying a berry. So I'll read it to you. This pail of June berries represents hundreds of gift exchanges that led up to my blue-stained fingers. The maples who gave their leaves to the soil, the countless invertebrates and microbes who exchanged nutrients and energy to build the humus in which a serviceberry seed could take root, the cedar waxwing who dropped the seed, the sun, the rain, the early spring flies who pollinated the flowers, the farmer who wielded the shovel to tenderly settle the seedlings. They are all parts of the gift exchange by which everyone gets what they need. If our first response to the receipt of gifts is gratitude, then our second is reciprocity, to give a gift in return. What could I give these plants in return for their generosity? This passage really speaks to me because it reminds me of how I feel God's envision was for us to relate with the environment, is that everything it created for us is a gift. But gifts, when they're not noticed, it's well, if they're not noticed, then they don't exist. So I think when I take the time in my day to notice the connection between everything that I've been, the environment, the bed, the sheets on the bed, the dishes, the water I get, I think I'm living in, that's what, for me, it means living in the third blessing, or in being an owner of my environment and over the care and understanding the value of the things around me. I really like this philosophy of treating all things as holy, and I think that's what the third blessing means to me, is treating everything in my environment as holy. Yeah, I think, and then lastly, I think one final point I want to make is, I think recently, specifically being a woman and now that I'm blessed, it feels harder to make time to pursue my calling or understand what that means, because I want to be a good wife, I want to be a good sister, I want to be a good friend, and as a people person, it's easy for all my focus and attention to go into my relationships. Not saying that investing into relationships is important. I think it is, but I think we put so much focus as a movement on selflessness that for me it means like, everything in my life needs to be centered around caring for other people, and anything I'm doing to pursue, making time to pursue things that I like doing or just for fun, it seems like a luxury. But I've been realizing that the third blessing also means honoring my needs and making time for pursuing things that I enjoy, so that can help me to be fulfilled as a human being outside of, in addition to the first and second blessing. I think if we do the first and second, but I'm not making time for finding my calling, or it doesn't have to be a career, it could be a project, it could be something else. Like, I don't think not everyone has to find that through a career, it could be something else. But something that wakes you up in the morning, that you're inspired to do and you feel sparks joy for you. So, yeah, personally, I don't think I've found that yet, but I'm getting closer. And like Yuuki, it's been through relationships, talking to people, figuring out, I like this or I like this, and then leaning into things that I like and going on a lot of side quests to find that. So, yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. So those are our individual. We thought we'd just end it with what has been our way as a couple. We've been trying to practice the third blessing. And yeah, the third blessing, again, it says the perfection of the human being's dominion over the natural world. It's a big statement, but it's also, I feel like, one of the things that it's just a journey, like a lifelong thing. So our experience with practicing the third blessing, how we're practicing being caretakers of our natural world, having dominion over our natural world, we haven't found it yet. We have not found that yet. But we've been trying. So as a couple, something we both do enjoy is community. So things that we have done are, we have a trinity, we have a couple we spend time with, Grace and Andreas, and then Mikey and Jerlyn, and we periodically just try to connect with each other, not just to catch up, but also to just support each other. I personally, in this community, I really like the idea of everyone finding their calling in terms of career. I hosted something called Design Your Life for a couple of weeks. Some people here came there. Lately, I've also been doing like morning Hundake before Sunday service, just a way to read God's words with other people. You want to share what you've been trying?
Yeah, for me it was important to create a community for sisters to connect, both young adult and wives. So I wanted to be a part of creating events for young women together. So we haven't done one in a while, but I was helping plan that, and that was a way that I felt called to help create the space I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think our experiences, we have been trying to practice third blessing by taking ownership over the circles we inhabit, the spaces we're a part of. And if there's a space that we don't see, but we want to see, we take initiative to do that. And I think that's for those that are blessed or about to be blessed and are also thinking about, I don't want to just be blessed and have a partner, but I really want to find a unique identity as a couple. Like, what are me and my partner, how are we going to contribute to the world? I think from our experience, what helps is just trying out different things. I think action, doing stuff, you can learn a lot more than just thinking about it and planning it. And then eventually, yeah, you'll find your calling. Like, couples that come to mind are like Tosma and Lucas Bursey in Alaska. That's like a fishing couple. There's David and Mitsue Wolfenberger. Their contribution is High Noon. But I imagine it took a lot of effort and a lot of action as them as a couple to find their unique calling. Kenji and Gabby are backpacking, hiking, camping couple. I'm just imagining they're like, as soon as their kid is born, Gabby's like, all right, 1 mile, let's go. Let's do it. You can't talk, but you can walk, so come on. But yeah, I think the third blessing for us has been trying, experimenting things until eventually, I think, we'll find our unique contribution.
I just want to add, I think the point of it all, the 3 blessings, is joy. God wants us to experience joy. Having dominion of our environment, that's because that's for us to experience joy. For getting blessed, that's for us to experience joy. Our relationship with God, joy. God wants to experience happiness and joy through us. And the 3 great blessings is the pathway God created for us to experience a full joy.
Thank you. Yeah, and so we have an activity to kind of digest what we shared for our testimony. And it's called Crazy 8. So I'll let Younng Joo explain this actually.
So this one, it's a brainstorming technique called the Crazy 8s. You get a paper and you split it into 8 sections, and then you start with a question, and you get 8 minutes to put as many ideas down on and visualize what that could look like. This is an example of how I've used this in my life is like, how might I practice being a mediator between God and the universe? I have a pressing question, I'll set a timer, and then I'll make boxes and try to come up with as many ideas as possible how I might visualize realizing that. So, like I drew on the left me talking to a pan. It says, God loves you, Pan. And the pan says, oh, thank you for telling me that. And another one is me in a garden, and then me making food, and then there's me making art but using nature, and then there's me playing at a park, and then I think the last one is like writing letters representing nature. Like I think it says, from the tree outside to Chizuru. I was like, yeah, what are ways, like try to think out of the box. Like the point of this activity is to think of things that you, outside of what you normally routine. So the first couple, maybe you're just thinking of things that other people have told you, but eventually you want to get to the point where you're coming up with new ideas of how you can practice that. So, oh yeah, another example, next slide. Oh, this is like, how might I live together with God? And then I go through and I just set a timer and I try to come up with different ideas. Praying before meals, going in the night and looking at the stars, nature walks, saying thank you, I love you before going to bed or waking up. Just like things that you can just write down and then it might inspire another practice for you to try. So let's try this together. Our question, next slide. How might I practice being a mediator between Heavenly Parent and the universe? And just see what comes to mind. So grab a paper, I'm going to set a timer, and we're going to do however many sections you want to do. You can do 8, you can do 6,